Hello, everyone. Hello, hello, hello. Thank you for joining us for our Zoom meeting on the 2020 Sigma Xi Student Research Showcase. I am Janelle Simmons. I am the Manager of Programs here at Sigma Xi headquarters in Research Triangle Park, North Carolina, and it is a beautiful day, and I'm very excited to be having this Zoom meeting to share best tips on how to create a successful and winning website. Joining me on this meeting is Dr. Amrita Dosanjh. She is a pediatrician and pulmonologist, and she is one of our judges for the Student Research Showcase. So with me, she'll be sharing her thoughts, her advice for those participating in the showcase this year. Now, for those of you who are unaware of the Student Research Showcase, which we call the SRS for short, it is an opportunity for students to share their research using a virtual platform. So this is different than our Student Research Conference, which takes place in the fall during our annual meeting. Student Research Showcase takes place in the spring, and it's an opportunity for students to create a website, which has three components: the abstract, a slideshow, and an opportunity to show yourself on camera with a video talking about your project. And one of the things that you'll have an opportunity to see during this meeting is a video from one of our participants, just so you kind of have an idea of what type of things we look for. And you'll also see videos from past winners sharing their advice as to how to succeed in the Student Research Showcase. So first, I actually want to talk about the abstract. Now, one of the things that's part of the process for the Student Research Showcase is you submit an abstract for approval. So before you start working on your website, you need to submit via our online form, which you can find on sigmaxi.org/SRS, your abstract. And of course, the abstract should be no more than 250 words. And with it, it should be very concise. You should be able to provide information which does not need to be referenced. It should act as a standalone description of your research project. Should be a single paragraph and should contain 2 to 4 sentences describing the overview of the research and its significance. And it should describe your research goals, methods, and outcomes. And it should also use searchable key phrases. Now, the abstract is very important because not only will you submit the abstract for review to be accepted to participate into the Student Research Showcase, but that same abstract will be added to your website. It is a requirement, and that is part of the judging process. Now, at this time, I would like to ask Dr. Dosanjh to actually share what she looks for in an abstract when she's judging the Student Research Showcase. So Dr. Dosanjh, I have you unmuted. So can you please share your thoughts regarding the abstract?
Hello.
हाँ एक मिनट रुको।
Hello, good afternoon. This is Dr. Dosanjh, and thank you very much again for inviting me to share my thoughts and opinions, and hopefully to provide some useful information regarding the process. To begin with, why don't we discuss the organizational elements of the abstract? And I see that one of the students is online on video.
Yes, you are correct.
Well, good afternoon. I think that absolutely the abstract is a standalone paragraph and usually 250, no more than 250 words. It should be very clear and concise. I'm also interested in why the study is being completed. What motivated the study? What is being tested? What do you hope to find? What do you think will happen during the course of experimentation? And why are you studying this particular scientific question. To begin with, to organize this standalone abstract, it's very important, I think, to use the space very concisely. First, introduce the reader, the viewer, the audience to the subject. The background doesn't have to be referenced. However, it should introduce the topic. And a little bit should be devoted to what is known about the topic. And then the other important aspect is, in order to study this question, what methods are you using? What methods have you utilized, and give some of the information in this section of the abstract to the reader. You are limited by 250 words, but this is an important area to cover. How detailed this can be is by using every sentence to provide the maximal amount of information. If you are studying, for example, animals, you should write down the N. If you're studying a patient population, give the number of patients. You can describe the subjects by gender, median age, mean age, and then the results. The results are the most important aspect of the abstract, in my opinion. The results are not a discussion of the results are the results. So in other words, if you were studying a population, you have done certain experiments on that population, whether it's an animal population, human population, or you're doing a database search, literature search. The results are the results. The results are your findings. And you want to use the space wisely to fully describe your results. And then in the discussion, you do want to highlight the novel aspects of the work, the findings, and the importance, and summarize the findings, as well as highlighting the importance and relevance. And future studies can be also added. One line of future studies will study and continue on from there. So I think to summarize, you do want to have a background portion to start with, an introduction to the topic, why the topic is being studied, why the question is being asked, what question is being asked, the methods and materials. But in my opinion, the results are the results, and that should comprise most of the rest of the abstract. And I hope that helps to organize your thoughts about your work.
Thank you, Dr. Dosanjh. Now, can you talk about one time when you've judged and the abstract was not following the guidelines, like you looked at the abstract and said something is missing? So can you just briefly talk about one of the abstracts you've judged in the past?
I think the structure of the abstract is important, to have these elements in the abstract. And when they're missing, or there is, I think, more of a style of disjointed thoughts or rambling, it does stand out, because from a scientific viewpoint, we do want to have a certain organization, the background, the introduction, and what is being tested, why are you studying the question, and then the results, and then the discussion of those results, and relevance in relation to other studies, similar studies, if there are similar studies, and the novel aspects of your study.
Great,
When
thank
those
you.
elements aren't there, it does
Yes.
stand out, and I think, of course, grammar and style are important.
Yes, that is very important. So making sure, of course, you're using proper grammar, proper style. I definitely recommend, before you submit your abstract, that you have someone, your advisor, take a look at it and review it to make sure that it is grammatically correct. Now, The next part of the website is a slideshow. Now, one thing to keep in mind with the Student Research Showcase is that you want to make sure that regardless of the background of the audience, that they're able to understand. So it shouldn't be too technical where someone like me, for example, who may not understand chemistry, will still be able to understand your research. So we want you to provide us with a slideshow, and it's included in the website, and it could be PowerPoint, Google Slides. There's so many different softwares that's available that you can use to present your slideshow. We suggest no more than 27 slides. So 25 content slides in addition to a title slide and an acknowledgement slide. And this would be a continuation of the abstract. So of course, talking about the hypothesis, your research question or research goals, the research methods that you've used, your data and results, and your findings and conclusions. Now, Dr. Dosanjh, in terms of a successful slideshow, what have you seen that you can share with our viewers today?
I think in preparing slide presentations, which I have numerous uh, presentations, I think that it depends somewhat on the topic. How do you want to present the material? And it should be done in a way that is interesting, I think, interesting to the audience. And there should be a flow and logic to the slideshow. You can follow the sections of the abstract, and then references are important. At the bottom of the slide, you do want to have some references. And then the visual aids don't necessarily have to be completely in scientific format. I think that adding analogies to help the audience understand the project by way of a picture or a photo is also something that reinforces learning. And one example may be that very often a photo can be added which illustrates the point, and also you can add a painting or something that illustrates the point by analogy, and that increases the interest, I think, of the audience sometimes. I I think though for scientific presentation, it it should be interesting, logical, and have a good organization.
Thank you. Yes, and I think that is definitely very important. Using pictures is definitely helpful as well to the slideshow. Now, a common question we receive are from students who they're working on their research, but they're still in the process of perhaps getting it published. So they don't want to have all of that information shown to the public just yet. So you're still able to participate. However, what you will need to do is make sure that the slideshow portion only is password protected. And the only people who would have access to the password would be myself and the judges. So you are allowed to password protect your slideshow, just the slideshow. The rest of your website must be readily available for viewing for members of the public. Because even though we will have judges, it's not just for the judges to judge your website. We are going to let everyone know that your presentation is online. So we want you to be able to share your research with a wide range of individuals from science and engineering and from other fields as well. Now, another part that's very important and seems to be challenging for participants is the video. So the video is an opportunity for you to also share your research and gives a brief introduction as to what you'll be doing. It should be no more than 3 minutes, and it basically gives a nice introduction as to what your research is about. It should be compelling, it should be engaging, and you can use a good cell phone camera. You don't have to, go spend money or get a videographer. You can do something really simple using your phone or your webcam on your computer. So do keep that in mind. We don't want you to have to, spend money on fancy videography. Something simple on your cell phone is fine, or on your laptop. Now, one of the things that you need to do in the video that is very important, and judges will be looking for this, is that you must include a statement on how the research fits into the big picture, described in a way that the judges and visitors to your site will find compelling. So as I mentioned, it has to be a very compelling video to also draw participants to find out more about your research. So what I will do after we hear from Dr. Dosanjh is show you a video from a past participant, so you can kind of see, one thing that they've done for their video. So Dr. Dosanjh, your thoughts about a successful video?
I think a video presentation is a really nice chance to connect with the audience and to lend a personal aspect to the work. One example is that a video abstract may be set in the lab, or for example, if there's a clinical project and it was conducted at one medical center, I have seen a very effective video abstract in which the authors are standing in front of the hospital and they are showing the audience this is where the study was conducted, and it gives the audience a visual um, interesting viewpoint of that study. And also it should be easy to follow. It should have some of the same elements that we've discussed. It should be clear, concise, have flow and logic, and you can also tell a little bit about yourself, or how motivated you are to study the question, why you find your work to be interesting, because I think that enthusiasm for your research will be transmitted very effectively in this modality. And then also I find as a judge that the circumstances under which you are working are also very compelling. Are you working in a major laboratory which is fully equipped, or have you done your experiments at home? And I think certainly that is taken into account. If you have to set up your own lab from an empty space, or from your home, working in your kitchen, for example, I find that very interesting, and I take that into account.
Wonderful. Thank you, Dr. Dosanjh. So what I'm going to do now is actually share a video from Yang Yang Liu from Louisiana Tech University. She did a project in cell bio and biochemistry, and one thing that she adds is some animation to her video. So I'm going to share my screen so you'll have an opportunity to see what she presented. Hmm. Okay, let's see. Okay, I just paused the share because it's buffering right now, but at least you have an idea of kind of what makes a successful video. As you see, the student used some animation, and she continues to use animation throughout the video. So one other thing that I suggest is make sure no more than 3 minutes. I know I mentioned it before, but it's so important that you don't go over the 3 minutes, because usually after a couple of minutes, people are not paying much attention past that point. You really want to be succinct and to the point. Now, I wanted to give you all the competition timeline if you have not seen what the timeline is on our website. We're currently accepting abstracts. So the deadline for abstracts is March 6th, and you can go on sigmazi.org/SRS, and you will be able to submit your abstract for approval. This will be the same abstract that will be placed on your website. Now, the process takes about a couple of weeks or so for the review process. We have received quite a bit so far, and we thank you for participating so far and getting those abstracts in, and we are, going through every single one of them with a fine-tooth comb. We will make sure to provide feedback if necessary. So if there's something that we see is missing, we will follow up with additional questions. Now, once you are accepted, you will receive an email, and we've started sending out some emails. If you have not received one, make sure you check your junk mail or spam folder, or just follow up with me, J Simmons, JSIMMONS, at sigmazi.org, and I will follow up with you and make sure that you know your status of your presentation. Once you've been accepted, you will receive a link to a form in which you will submit your website link. So between when you've been accepted to the deadline to submit your actual website, which is April 10th, you will submit the website. If your slideshow is password protected, we will need that information as well during that time. And that is also where you will submit payment for the Student Research Showcase. Non-Sigma Xi members pay $50. Sigma Xi members pay $35. So that's all part of the registration form. If we do not receive your registration and presentation submission form by April 10th, you will not be able to participate in the Student Research Showcase. Then between the 10th and the 19th of April, we will start to put the completed websites that we receive on the Student Research Showcase webpage. So they will be set up by discipline. And then from April 20th through May 1st, judges will be reviewing your websites and providing feedback. They will fill out a form, and you will receive the feedback from those forms at the conclusion of the Student Research Showcase. Student award winners are announced on May 6th. So there are 3 winners based on division. So we have a high school division winner, an undergraduate division winner, and a graduate division winner. And the graduate division includes master's and PhD students, just so you know. So there are 3 overall winners. And then of those 3, the highest score of the 3 will then receive the overall award. So I didn't mention there is a $500 monetary award for each of the division winners, but then the overall winner will receive an additional $500, which makes the total prize of $1,000. Top winners of each category, each research discipline will receive an honorable mention. So that's the prize we're going for up to $1,000 for submitting your research and showing it using a virtual platform. Now, one other way that you can win money, and it's a way that you can share your research with the public, is through our People's Choice Award. So that's why it's very important that we have your website accessible to those outside of just in your fields of research, because we will be asking for the public to vote on their favorite video. So that's another reason why the video is so important. And the top video for this People's Choice Award, they will receive a a monetary award of $250. And the voting for that starts on the 6th of May. So when we announce the division and overall winner, we will start voting for the Student Research Showcase People's Choice Awards. And on the 13th of May is when we end voting, with the People's Choice Awards being announced a day later on May 14th. Again, all of this is available on the SRS Student Research Showcase website on sigmasci.org/SRS. So now, one of the things that's important when you're being judged is the discussion widget. So you're probably wondering, what is a discussion widget? So you might notice, and for those of you who are into social media and using Facebook or Twitter or Periscope or various social media avenues, there is a place where you're able to make comments. So basically what we're asking is that all participants on their website have a comments page. So what I will be doing is making sure that you see an example of a discussion page. So I'm going to share my screen again. And as you can see, this is an example from a student who participated in the Student Research Showcase last year. And as you can see, there's a judge that had provided feedback and the student responded. Now, well, I won't say we prefer, but the most commonly used discussion widget is Discus, DISQUS, but you do not need to use Discus. There are various other discussion widgets that you can use. For those of you who are unfamiliar with the other discussion widgets and not knowing how to add it to your website, Discus actually has instructions for the various website software that you can use. So one of the things you'll receive at the conclusion of this Zoom meeting, and also we'll have it on our website, is a list of how to access Discus and add it to your websites. Now, this is a Tumblr page. You don't have to use Tumblr. If you can use WordPress, if you're more comfortable using WordPress, you can definitely do that. If you're comfortable with Google Sites, you can use Google Sites. You can also use Wix. You can also use Squarespace. So there's Tumblr, Squarespace, Wix, WordPress, and Google Sites. Those seem to be the most commonly used websites. So the research page that we will add will include how to add Discus to each of those different websites to make it easier for you, or just use whatever that you feel most comfortable with. But I wanted to show you an example here. And one of the things to keep in mind with your discussion widget is that you do not want to require anyone to sign in. The judges nor the general public should not have to create an account or sign in to post a comment. They can be anonymous. They don't have to, you don't have to have your discussion widget in this case where people can see it. But if they're still sending it to you and you're able to access and respond to them, that is fine. But just make sure that you have something in place so that judges are able to leave comments, ask you questions, and that you respond to them. Always check for comments on a regular basis. Some students will create their website and don't respond until the end of the 2-week judging period. You should be looking every day for comments on your discussion boards. In addition, you should make it very easy for judges to find your discussion widget. So on this page, you can see where I have the cursor, there's a discussion link. You could also have under each part of your website. So under the introduction video, you can have right underneath it, discussion widgets. Same after the slideshow, and also the abstract and such. So as long as it's easy for judges to find. If you feel after about 5 days something is not right, you're not sure what's happening because you haven't seen any comments, do not hesitate to contact me, and I will make sure that your slideshow is and your website is accessible to the judges, in particular the discussion widget. So now I want to ask Dr. Dosanjh to talk more about the judging process and just asking her about her favorite part of judging the Student Research Showcase. So she's provided a lot of great information so far as to what she looks for, but she comes back to judge pretty much annually. So I wanted to ask Dr. Dosanjh, can you just tell us what is your favorite part about judging the Student Research Showcase?
Well, thank you again for, I think, a very long association with the society, with Sigma Psi. And I think it's a real privilege to be able to view the work in various formats from students who are beginning their careers, who have an interest in science and enthusiasm for science and for conducting experiments. And it's a real joy to be able to view their work and to try to help by making hopefully constructive suggestions for their future work, because they have many, many years ahead of them in their careers in science and in other fields. And this process, I think, is very valuable from an educational standpoint. These are the formats that are typically used by scientists at meetings across the country. And it's a real pleasure and to see the joy and enthusiasm and interest for science from the students. So thank you again for inviting me.
Oh, thank you so much. And what advice do you have for students competing in the Student Research Showcase? What advice do you have?
Well, I think that this is a process and there is always a learning curve. You are at the start of your educational scientific careers. And I think that I hope that they enjoy the process of communicating their work and dedicating themselves to scientific work. I think it requires dedication and interest and knowledge, and they really are very talented, and I think I just applaud them for going through the process and presenting their work.
Thank you very much. Awesome. Now, one thing I also want to provide in terms of my advice for those of you participating in the Student Research Showcase is during your video, make sure to speak slowly. I know sometimes me, when I get very excited, I get very animated, and sometimes I talk too fast. And I have to remember I need to slow it down. So make sure when you're doing your video, just slow down a little bit so that your viewers will be able to understand and hear exactly everything that you are saying. Now, I may not be the best person to provide advice. I have some advice, but I think, hearing from Dr. Dosanjh was great, but we also have advice for you from two of our winners from last year's Student Research Showcase. So I'll be showing you those videos now, and please take their advice to heart because they were the division winners in the undergraduate and graduate divisions. And I think what they have to provide is very helpful for those of you who are competing this year. So we're going to start with Natasha.
Hi everyone, my name is Natasha Shaw and I'm currently a junior chemistry major at Quinnipiac University and I am the undergraduate division winner of the Student Research.
So I see we're having some buffering, but I'm going to play again and let's see if we can continue.
Research Showcase was a large platform where I was able to present my findings about complex ions called polyoxometalates. So the first thing I did was break down the term polyoxometalate. So poly meaning many, oxo referring to oxygen, metal referring to metals, and ates referring to anions. So I was able to complete the abstract and then the technical slideshow. And then I was able to create a video while incorporating the slideshow within it so I can guide the readers or the audience throughout this slideshow. So I highly encourage students to apply for the Student Research Showcase and share their work with others because it's a great opportunity to enhance your communication skills. You want to be confident and speak with clarity because you're the expert and you want to share it with others.
So that is from Natasha Shah. We also have another video from Anthony Obong Jiebi. So I will be sharing that video as well. And he is our graduate division winner from last year's Student Research Showcase.
My name is Anthony Oponjebi. I'm originally from Ghana, but currently schooling in Texas. I'm at the University of North Texas Health Science Center. PhD student, and the most recent graduate division winner for Sigma Xi Research Showcase competition. As student researchers, we should not shy away from seizing opportunity where we would be able to showcase what we've got in us to the outside world. So, as much as we go about our daily lives, our business, if we chance on such opportunities, which allows us as students, researchers, regardless of where you find yourself on the academic ladder, be a high school student, undergraduate, or even a graduate student, just grab it, seize the opportunity, and show the world what you've been working on. It gave me the platform to also tell people my story, the beautiful story that I had. To even partake in it involves a lot. It doesn't come easy in terms of all the resources you have to put in to even get your video uploaded and recognized as a competitor. It takes a lot of effort. Knowing your script or knowing your research, having an in-depth knowledge about your research, having a means of even recording it and uploading it. They all involve a lot of resources, time, and energy. So, in as much as we would want to be the top note or something of that sort, and we would want to sometimes go solitary or solo in the things we do, we should also encourage collaboration with our friends. Because in my case, or in my situation, I didn't do it all by myself. I had friends who supported me to shoot my video, team up with others to get our best or a good script to present, which is worthy of winning that award.
So I definitely want to thank Anthony and Natasha for sharing their information and their advice about the Student Research Showcase. Now, one thing that was mentioned is that he mentioned the team. Anthony mentioned the team, and you can have a team work together to present a website. So the maximum team members is 4. So you can have 4 students on a team, and it can be all high school or undergraduate or a combination if you're doing research with students in other levels, but you can do team research. And if you were to win the monetary award, it would be split up by the number of people that are on your team. Now, that was a question I know that is usually asked. So I wanted to ask that question since the team piece did show up in Anthony's video. Now, if there's anyone who have any questions about the Student Research Showcase, you can raise your hand, you can type it in the chat box, or tweet Sigma Xi SRS. So are there any questions for me or Dr. Dosanjh? So we have a question. What type of questions should students expect from the judges? I will ask that to Dr. Dosanjh. So Dr. Dosanjh, what type of questions do you ask the students when you are reviewing the websites?
I sometimes ask for clarification of a statement in the abstract or a question about a slide. Um, Questions are typically specific for either a slide or some specific point that is made in the presentation.
Great, thank you. That's a very good question. Any other questions? Well, if there are no other questions, you can still leave questions for me. And if the question's not for me and it's for Dr. Dosanjh, I will make sure to send it her way so that she can respond. But you can send all questions to me at jsimmons, JSIMMONS @sigmaxi.org. You can also still tweet those questions to SigmaXi SRS. And I am really excited about this year's Student Research Showcase. I am looking forward to seeing all of the wonderful websites that will be presented. The abstracts that we've been receiving have been amazing thus far, so I know that the students will be delivering quality work. If you need the information again for how to access information on the Student Research Showcase, it is www.sigmaxi.org/SRS. And again, you can email me, and I look forward to reading and seeing everyone's websites. Dr. Dosanjh will also be looking at your presentations as well. I want to thank her for taking time out of her schedule and, especially being on the West Coast. Thank you so much for assisting us and providing your expertise in this area. So thank you again, Dr. Dosanjh.
You are so welcome, and I really appreciate the opportunity to listen to the presentations and to provide insight from my perspective. And I wish the students all the best, and we're looking forward to seeing your presentations.
Wonderful, thank you. And again, we will have a list of resources, and those resources will include a few of the websites that you can create your websites on, the web software such as Wix, Squarespace, WordPress, Tumblr, and Google Sites, in addition to instructions on how to add the Discus discussion widget to each one of those platforms. You'll also receive a link with additional information from science communicators, in addition to other winners of the Student Research Showcase from previous years. And there's also a link to a sample Student Research Showcase website. So all of that will become available as a PDF on our website. I want to thank you all for participating and joining us this afternoon or morning or wherever you are. And we hope you have a wonderful rest of the day. And I look forward to seeing those presentations. Have a great, great day, everyone. Bye-bye.